Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second ICT policy inauguration event. I would like to set a little bit of a context before we go into the program. Over the last few days, we have been getting two questions, primarily. Two very contradicting questions. The first one, Hyderabad is doing very well. Why do you need a second policy? The first policy seems to be working. Why do you need a second policy? The answer to this, I think you will get as the program rolls on. And the second question, it's a very contradicting question. People ask us, we hear a lot about Hyderabad. Is it all happening there? So I tell the investors, look, you are frequent flyers. You get to the airport and you have to reach your destination. What do? So you usually take your iPhone or your Android phone and call Uber and reach your destination, right? Now just look at what you did. Your iPhone, the manufacturer is Apple, and your Uber, both of them have their largest campuses outside of their headquarters here in Hyderabad. And what does your Uber do to reach to your destination? It uses Google Maps to navigate. And you know where Google Maps is created? It is done right here in Hyderabad. You go further deeper. You look into the iPhone. The memory chips are provided by Micron. And Micron has its largest presence outside of its headquarters here in Hyderabad. And Qualcomm, that provides the 4G and 5G for Apple or any Android phone, a lot of work happens here in Hyderabad. So, and I would like to tell you that all these companies, Google, Apple, Uber, Micron, they have established their largest campuses here in Hyderabad in the last 5 years. And not just these, we have 20 other brands. So now I would like to go into the event. So it's my privilege to invite all the eminent guests today. First, let me invite the host of the day's program, Mr. Jayesh Ranjan IAS, Principal Secretary for IT and Industries, to come onto the stage, please. Our chief guest for the event, Mrs. Rekha Menon, Chairperson and Senior MD, Accenture and Chairman of NASSCOM. While the guests arrive on the stage, we request our Principal Secretary to honor them with a Pochampalli Ikat shawl. The U.S. Consul General in Hyderabad, Mr. Joel Reifman. The Honorable Minister for IT and Industries, Mr. KT Ramarao. Mr. BVR Mohan Reddy, Chairman and Founder, Scient. Mr. V. Rajanna, Senior Vice President and Global Head of Technology, Business Unit, TCS. Mr. Stephen Ravindra, Commissioner of Police, Cyberabad. Mr. G.T. Venkateshwar Rao, Commissioner of Me Seva. So there are a lot of events lined up for the day. It's apart from inaugurating our ICT policy, we wanted to recognize some of them who made all the success possible. So to start off the day, we would like to inaugurate our ICT policy and go ahead with the rest of the day. Yeah, please. the launch of the second ICT policy for the government of Telangana. The first one was done in 2016, and we are doing our second one today after 5 years. Can we have some of the policy booklets on the stage, please? The second ICT policy is being launched by our chief guest, Mrs. Rekha Menon, and our Honorable IT Minister, Mr. KT Ramarao, in the presence of other eminent guests on the stage. Thank you. Now let me request our Principal Secretary, Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, to give a high-level view of what is in store in the second ICT policy.
Honorable Chief Guest, Chairperson of Accenture, Chairperson of NASSCOM, Ms. Rekha Menon, Honorable Minister for Information Technology, Mr. KT Ramarao, distinguished guests, CG Rashman, Mr. BVR Mohan Reddy, Mr. Rajanna, my colleague, Mr. GT Venkateshwar Rao, Mr. Stephen Ravindra, invitees, guests, It's a matter of great honor for all of us in the IT, E&C department to unveil and share the salient features of the second IT policy before you. As all of us know, the Telangana state was formed in 2014, and we took a couple of years to understand what is the direction IT is taking in this country, IT is taking in the rest of the world, what is it that is happening in other states, and then we were able to bring out a very comprehensive, very business-friendly, very citizen-friendly policy in 2016. Typically, the tenure of a government policy is 5 years. So this year, 2021, completed the tenure of the first IT policy, and we are privileged to bring the second IT policy. The second IT policy may not look very different from the first IT policy, mainly for one reason, which my colleague also already mentioned, which is that the first policy has done exceedingly well. So as the saying goes, you don't fix it if it is not broken. So that is the philosophy we also followed when we were looking at the second version, that it should largely contain all the elements of the first version because they have done exceedingly well for us. They have stood us in good stead. But it is also a fact that in the last 5 years or so, particularly in the last 18 months, lots of changes have come. In the last 18 months, as we know, amazing levels of disruption has happened, most of it fueled by technology. So when we are getting a chance to review and bring out a new version of the policy, let us keep in mind, let us factor all these changes and all these developments which are happening. So I'll give you a very quick macro level overview of what is contained in the second policy. The key aspect of this policy, the second policy, is that we want citizens to be at the center stage. The focus in the first policy was more on digital governance, digital technologies, but we now feel after the successes of the first policy that we now need to flip our perspective and ensure that digitally empowered citizens are the biggest achievements of our government, of our stakeholders. Digital government, of course, is important because IT can be a very useful interface between people and the government. Innovation and entrepreneurship, as all of you would have seen, Hyderabad has become the hotbed of innovation in the last 5 years, and we must build on that momentum, take our innovation ecosystem to the best global benchmarks. We also know that private sector plays a very important role. It is the private sector, really speaking, which drives the IT industry, and Hyderabad should become even more welcoming. While my colleague mentioned about the big ones who are already here, but there are hundreds of others who are still not in India. So how should Hyderabad ensure that we get the largest part of that business going forward? And eventually, technology, as our minister keeps pointing out, technology is no good if it doesn't benefit the common man. So therefore, technology for social development. So these are the 5 key pillars that will be driving the next 5 years of our government. We have identified 12 focus areas, which you can see on the slide. We'll be encouraging companies to do product development, engineering, R&D. Our governance standards will become even more contactless, paperless, and presenceless. Government of India is also giving a very big push to electronics, electronic manufacturing. We are already doing pretty well there, but we want to ride on some of the new schemes which have started at the national level. Digital infrastructure, again, Telangana has a program called T-Fiber, which is not matched by any state in the country today. But what beyond that? I mean, as the saying goes, you can take the horse to water, but how do you make it drink? So how do you ensure that we have wherewithal that people use this digital infrastructure? Innovation and entrepreneurship, I already spoke about. One of the key challenges which Honorable Minister posed before us in the duration of the first policy was that we should be able to decentralize. It should not become Hyderabad-centric. We should be able to take IT to smaller towns. We have succeeded partially in that. I won't say that we have done everything which Honorable Minister wanted us to do, but these 5 years would be the ones where we will be really showing how second-tier towns and cities of Telangana can also contribute to the great IT work which is going on in the state. We know that COVID, the pandemic has created challenges, has created new opportunities rather for IT sector jobs. But what kind of skills are required, what kind of reskilling is required, what kind of upskilling is required, that is also going to be one of the important focus of our new policy. I already mentioned about digitally empowered citizens. We strongly believe that you can create the best infrastructure, but if you don't have the buy-in of the people, they will just not take that infrastructure. So how do you create buy-in of the citizens? Do people know that they have opportunities to use digital to improve their quality of life? How do you do that grassroots level demonstration? That is again a very important thing. Telangana is now well known for emerging technologies. You just witnessed how we use the drone to deliver the policy book to our chief guest. Those of you who were here during the launch of the first policy, which happened in 2016, when Mr. Narayan Murthy, Honorable Governor, Honorable Chief Minister, they were all guests. Some of you will recall that we had brought a robo to actually come and hand over the policy book. So Telangana over the last 6 years, 7 years has earned a very strong reputation of being that state which pioneers the use of IT, emerging technologies. In fact, just about a week ago, we were the first state in the country to launch a very innovative project called Medicines from the Sky, in which drones are utilized to deliver vaccines, blood, medicines, etc. to remote areas. So we want to remain the prime state in this country which adopts emerging technologies. Cloud has become very important. We did not explicitly mention that in the first policy. At that time, it was still a very nascent kind of an area. But in the last 5 years, we have recognized how important cloud has become. Some of the biggest cloud providers have chosen to make Hyderabad their center for establishing hyperscale data centers, etc. So in this policy, we want to have a very distinct focus on cloud. And ICR representatives are here. They have also set up a center of excellence on cloud. We also want to do more and become one of the leading states in cloud strategy. We know that while Hyderabad is one of the premier cities in the country, there are many opportunities of applying digital technologies for urban living. There are other towns and cities also where greater amount of technologies can be adopted. So in these 5 years, we want to give a very big push to how the quality of living in a city or a town is enhanced using technology. And finally, the role of our own department, the IT department. 6 years ago, when Honorable Minister became the Minister for IT, he gave this direction that typically in a government system, IT department is traditionally seen at the best as an agency which procures hardware and software for you. If you have requirement of some laptops or any devices, just send a requisition to the IT department and they will procure that. But he wanted that to change. He himself took the lead to speak to his colleague ministers, tell them how technology solutions can help them in their outreach, in improving their internal processes. And we want to do that even more in this next 5 years. How do we become a real enabler, a catalyst for all government agencies, all government departments to use more and more and more of technology. So this is a very high level overview of the IT policy. Before the function ends, please do collect a copy of the policy book. As you saw, the book was unveiled a while ago. Copies will be distributed maybe from that corner, I guess. And it will also be put on our website within the next 1 hour or so. So please do read it. And like any other policy, this policy is also not cast in stone. If you have any ideas on how to tweak it or improve upon it, or if you feel that there is something which we have not emphasized upon adequately, feel free to share your feedback with us. We are always very receptive to industry, to domain experts, to academic thought leaders, and we'll be very happy to take your suggestions on board. Once again, very grateful that so many of you, all these industry leaders, partners, they are here with us today. We'll also be announcing some very interesting projects and partnerships over the course of the next 1 hour or so. So I would like to also thank all of you who will be partnering with us for multiple initiatives in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. So that clarifies a question. We are continuing a lot of the things that we had in our first policy. It's a revision with a lot of renewed energy. And as our Principal Secretary was saying, you can go through the policy document and 90% of you sitting over here have our mobile contacts. You can always call us and let us know what you would like to see. We'll always be willing to listen to you. Now, IT is not just about investments. It's a major part of the story, but we have a lot of other things happening within the department. So here we would like to recognize outstanding Grameen e-stores and village level entrepreneurs. I would like to invite Mr. Shankar Nayak, Mr. Ratlavat Shankar Nayak, along with Mr. Raja Kishore, who is the COO of the CSC Grameen stores, on the stage, please. They have done some really similar work in the digital literacy area. Mr. Shankar Nayak has taken up digital literacy programs in 3 villages. Kalkonda village and Brahmanapalli village in Madagul Mandal, Rangareddy district, and Chaudarpalli village in Talakondapalli Mandal. He has trained 550 citizens and certified 452 of them. Request Commissioner Meeseva also to join, please. It's a very important aspect of the state is to create digital literates so they can use all the good work done by the state. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ratlavat Shankar Nayak. Now let me invite Mr. Kodakanti Venkanna for his excellent work in the CSC Grameen e-store. He's a rural entrepreneur at Nagaram village in Nagaram Mandal, Suryapet district, and he has achieved a rural e-commerce worth rupees 2.64 lakhs in the last quarter. Usage of technology in the rural areas. Mr. Kodakanti Venkanna, thank you. Now we go to the next part. The task MOU with Mentor Together. Let me invite Mr. Jean Paul, Associate Director Operations Mentor Together, and the CEO of Task, Mr. Srikant Sinha, to the stage for an MOU exchange. One of the key factors for any company to invest in Telangana or in any destination is the availability of quality human resources. I'd request Mr. Srikant Sinha to exchange the MOU with Mr. Jean Paul in the presence of the Honorable Chief Minister, Honorable IT Minister. One of the key factors for any company to invest in Telangana is the availability of quality human resources. Telangana has created this flagship program called TASK, Telangana Academy for Skills and Knowledge, for creating quality human resources. Mentor Together is India's first and largest youth mentoring organization with a mission to facilitate empowering mentoring relationships and networks for young people from disadvantaged backgrounds. Thank you. Now we are moving on to the next item, the launch of the Telangana Startup Portal. Let me invite Dr. Shanta Tautam, CIO, Telangana State Innovation Cell, along with her team. Manish Jaiswal. And can we request the Honorable Minister and our Principal Secretary to launch the portal, please? The Honorable Minister is about to launch the portal. He has already launched it, the Startup Telangana portal. It's a one-stop destination to avail all the services being provided by the government to startups. It's a unique initiative. All services including registration, grievance redressal, mentorship and incentive disbursement happen through this portal. It's a central place for knowledge dissemination about the state's support to the startups. Thank you. Now we are moving on to the next item, a game video launch. Let me invite Mr. Vishnu Cherikandi, Chief Operating Officer with the Image Center of Excellence, and Mr. Prakash Kamineni, founder of Zigzaco Private Limited, onto the stage to present to you Ardham, one of the game-based learning app developed at our own Image Center of Excellence in Hyderabad. Request the Honorable Minister to launch the portal. Image innovation in media, animation, gaming and entertainment as it stands is a fast-growing sector in Hyderabad. We had several creative and celebrated work happening in Hyderabad, including those of Bahubali, Chota Bheem, Life of Pi, etc. Now I request the Honorable Minister to unveil the game. Please. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Prakash. So a quick note for you. The policy, the second ICT policy is loaded onto our IT department website. And there is a QR code that is placed on your table. You can scan it to access the policy. Thank you. Now we move on to the next item. The National Center on Additive Manufacturing. This is a very important segment in the program. Telangana has been the frontrunner in emerging technologies. Let it be artificial intelligence or data science or machine learning or blockchain or applying drones in real life. Recently, as many of you may have followed, we have launched a very unique project, Medicines from the Sky, in Vikarabad district, under which life-saving drugs will be delivered using drones. Now we are here to announce the National Center on Additive Manufacturing. Let me invite my colleague Mrs. Ramadevi, Director for Emerging Technologies, onto the stage for conducting the proceedings.
Yeah, thank you, Amar. I hope all of you can see me. So, yeah, just 2 seconds. Yeah, I think this is better now. Yeah, a very good morning to everyone. Well, we have established so far about 5 centers of excellences in Telangana, such as AI, cybersecurity, e-waste, animation gaming, and cloud. And this is the 6th one that we're going to establish in Hyderabad, which is called National Center in Additive Manufacturing, or we are calling it as NCAM, which is going to dot the technology landscape of Telangana. So each of these centers have different funding models, different partners. Some are funded purely by state government, and the others, by other organizations. It could be MIT or industry partners and so on. So this is in partnership between Government of Telangana and Ministry of IT. And industry is also going to pitch in this project in a great way. So the vision of NCAM, just a minute. Wait, how do I? This one, huh? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, the vision is aligned with the national strategy paper that is released by Government of India, Ministry of IT. The vision is to position India as a global hub in additive manufacturing and also to create and protect the IPRs related to the AM industry. The center will build a comprehensive ecosystem in additive manufacturing covering all the 7 components of the AM chain, starting from materials, equipment, DFAM, and to commercialization. We had about very wide-ranging consultations with various stakeholders across the ecosystem. And these are the 5 pillars that we have identified, core pillars I would say, starting from access to infrastructure. As you all know, access to expensive printers, materials is actually a barrier for most of the SMEs to adopt additive manufacturing. So the NCAM or the center would actually establish state-of-the-art facility in Hyderabad with access to materials, machines, softwares, and skilled manpower. The second pillar that you can see over there is R&D and innovation, and we all agree that we need to invest a lot in this, in R&D. And here we are looking at the industry, to be part of this R&D innovation. Most of the industry partners have come forward to actually help us on this key pillar. The third one is, of course, new product development and indigenization. We'll be partnering with various incubators, accelerators across the country to actually work in this particular pillar. And as you all know, skilling is an imperative in this sector. And the kind of skilling required for this particular additive manufacturing is so different. So we are actually going to plan on-demand skilling programs, again in collaboration with the industry and academia. Then the fifth pillar is enabling adoption and industry readiness. India is actually capturing less than 2% of the additive manufacturing industry globally. So there's a lot needs to be done, and the NCAM, or the National Center for Additive Manufacturing, will be working extensively in this area. The center that's going to be established in Hyderabad will also leverage Telangana's innovation ecosystem partners, more specifically T-Works, a prototyping center that's going to come up soon in Hyderabad. And also the presence of allied industries such as aerospace, defense, and space tech. Initially, we would be focusing on these sectors, aerospace, defense, space tech, on these technologies to develop prototypes and products in this area. Well, concluding, collaboration will be the key mantra for the NCAM. We want to work with all the key stakeholders and leverage their strengths. So we don't want to really reinvent again. And we had an overwhelming response from all the partners across the system. When our Principal Secretary Jayshanjan Garu has sent out emails, we were flooded with emails saying that we can offer this kind of help in skilling, be it in skilling or training or whatever it is, So I thank all the industry participants who actually came forward to be part of the NCAM. Well, thank you. Now we are announcing the formation of the Governing Council today. Our honorable members are here, and we will also be launching the logo for NCAM. My colleague Saurabh will be taking over the next proceedings. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'll request you to stay back at the stage. And thank you for announcing the formation of Governing Council for the National Center for Additive Manufacturing. I'll request our Honorable GC member, Dr. Tata Narsinga Rao, Director, International Advanced Research Center for Powder Metallurgy and New Materials, RK, to please join on the stage. The areas of collaboration with the RK is the development of new product alloys, product of test and characterization, development of standard, research and development, training and skill development. I request Professor Murthy, Director, IIT Hyderabad, to please join us on the stage. The areas of the collaboration with IIT Hyderabad are skilling and training, indigenization of AM components, incubation of startups, research and development activities. Now I invite Shri Rudra Kumar Jadeja ji, Chief Executive, Defense R&D, Kalyani Group, to please join us on the stage. The areas of collaboration with the Kalyani Group are applied R&D, new product design and development, advanced training and skill development. Now I invite Shri Parag Marathe ji, Head of GE India Grid Engineering and Hyderabad Technology Center, to please join us on the stage. The areas of collaboration with the GE is standardization and creating a roadmap for additive manufacturing technology in India, training and skill development activities. Now I invite Shri Ajay Parikh ji to please join us on the stage. Ajay Parikh ji is Vice President and Business Head Wipro 3D. The areas of collaboration with the Wipro 3D are R&D and new product development, development of standards and advisory for the selection of AM technology and processes, indigenization of AM technology and supply chain, skilling and training to industries for adoption of AM, startup mentorship and technical consultancy. The other technical members, other GC members who will be joining for the Governing Council are Dr. S.K. Jha, Chairman and Managing Director, Midani, Shri Arvind Kumar ji, Scientist ji, Head of R&D and MITI, Dr. Suman Kumari Mishra ji, Director, CSIR CGACRI, Professor Craig Banks, Founder and Academic League, Prince City, Manchester Metropolitan University. They couldn't join us for this event. Now I would request our Honorable Minister Shri K.T. Rama Rao ji and our Honorable Chief Guest Rekha Menon ji to please inaugurate and kindly launch the National Center Additive Manufacturing logo.
Thank you. So just when you think that you have a grasp on all the emerging technologies, here comes a new one. National Center on Additive Manufacturing or Additive Manufacturing. Request Ramadev Garu to remain on the stage. Let me also invite Srimati Sweta Kolluri, Head of Experimentation, Accelerator Lab, UNDP India, and Srimati Dibya Singh, Strategy and Innovation Lead, UNDP, for an MOU exchange. And this is a very interesting item. Global food demand is increasing. On the other hand, climate change is causing a loss in food productivity. Together, there is a huge threat to the world. In this regard, United Nations Development Program, the UNDP, and the government of Telangana under the Emerging Technologies Wing have come together to promote some strategies. Under the MOU, both parties will actively promote strategies such as anticipatory governance, policy experimentation, community-centric design, digital public goods, and open innovation. Thank you. The MOU will also facilitate knowledge exchanges and multidisciplinary research collaborations. Thank you once again. We move on to the next item. The launch of T-Face by Photonic Valley Corporation. Let me invite Mr. Venkata Simhadri, Chairman, IESA Hyderabad, Mr. Krishnamurthy, CEO, IESA National Chapter, Mr. Ajay Naini, CEO, Xilinx, Mr. Srinivas Bairi from Intel, and Dr. Madhav Pulipati, CEO of Photonics Valley Corporation for an MOU. The Photonics Valley Corporation is a very forward-looking initiative which deals with a complete paradigm shift in computing. T-Face, Telangana Fabless Accelerator through Crowd Enablement. Telangana Fabless Accelerator through Cloud Enablement. World's first virtual platform to support the startups in the space of fabless chip design activity. It is the first global virtual platform for supporting the startups in fabless space. The platform is planning to support 50 incubators to begin with and will focus on the third generation differentiator technologies such as photonics and gallium nitride. Thank you. So we have a second MOU between Photonics Valley Corporation and TIE Hyderabad chapter. I request Dr. Madhav Pulipati and Mr. Sujay Karampuri to remain on the stage while I invite Mr. Suresh Raju, Vice Chairman of TIE Hyderabad, Mr. N. Venkatesh, Board Member TIE Hyderabad, Mr. Srinivas Chandupatla, Board Member TIE Hyderabad for an MOU. The industries supporting the platform T-Face include Intel, Micron, Qualcomm, Xilinx, IMEC, Cadence, MOSCHIP, Invecas, Synopsys and Mentor. The institutions which are involved include T-Works, T-Hub, TASK, IIT Hyderabad and JNTU Hyderabad. Thank you. So we move on to the next item in the agenda. It's a very important item for us. All of you know how Hyderabad IT is emerging, and Hyderabad is now the most preferred destination across the globe, and a lot of credit goes to the industry bodies that are supporting in this endeavor. To start with, I would like to call Mr. Prakash Bodla, Chairman of the Hyderabad chapter of the American Chamber of Commerce. He is also the Executive Head and Vice President, Carrier Technologies India Limited. Request Prakash and his team to come on the stage, please. He joined by Mr. Shashi Reddy, who is a member of the AmCham, and also by Ms. Sandhya. AmCham is playing a key role in the city. I request our Honorable Minister along with the US Consul General in Hyderabad to honor the AmCham team with a memento. AmCham has established a GCC Council, the Global Competency Council, with 50 members in Hyderabad, and all of them are American companies. And the incumbent US ambassador in India is the honorary president of AmCham. Thank you. Now, I'd like to invite Mr. Bharani Arul, President HYCIA, Mr. Srinivas Rao, the COO, Mr. Kiran Cherukuri, the Vice President, Mr. Prashant Nandella, the Secretary of HYCIA, to come on the stage along with the other HYCIA team members. HYCIA has been supporting the government through several CSR activities. They have taken up the IT for TS and collaborated with the United Way and other industry bodies in procuring valuable infrastructure worth about 100 crores for the Telangana hospitals across the state. HYCIA has also been very active in promoting the SMEs in the state through a SME committee created by the government. ICI is almost completing about 30 years of its establishment in Hyderabad. Thank you. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Srikanth Srinivasan, Vice President, Head of Membership and Outreach for NASSCOM, along with Mr. Tanmay Mukherjee, Regional Director for NASSCOM, onto the stage, please. Request our Honorable Minister, along with our Chief Guest, Mrs. Rekha Meron, who is the Chairman of NASSCOM, to present a memento. NASSCOM has been actively supporting the government of Telangana in formulating the ICT policy. The President of NASSCOM, Ms. Debjani Ghosh, has been a very active member of the Advisory Council for ICT Policy and Investments in Telangana and contributed significantly towards the evolution of the second ICT policy. NASSCOM has also been supporting the government in formulating the engineering R&D aspects of the ICT policy. Thank you. Mr. BVR Mohan Reddy Garu, who is on the stage, was an earlier chairman or past chairman for NASSCOM. Now I would like to invite Mr. Krishna Edula, General Secretary for the Society for Cyberabad Security Council or SESC, along with his team to come up to the stage. Request the IT Minister to give away the memento to the SESC team in the presence of Mr. Stephen Ravindra, Commissioner of Police for Cyberabad. Also request the IT Minister to give away a memento to Mr. Stephen Ravindra. SESC has been instrumental in running some flagship programs in areas such as women's safety, cyber security, road safety, traffic management, infrastructure management, and business continuity. They have been literally anywhere and everywhere in the community. During the COVID pandemic, SESC has done a phenomenal job in conducting vaccination drives. As all of you know, they have facilitated work from homes and other programs and have become a very integral part of the community. And SESC, along with Cyberabad Police and other commissionerates, are a major reason why Hyderabad is today the safest metro as per statistics from the Indian Statistical Bureau. Thank you. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Pratyusha. Now we move on to the next item. The largest employer in Hyderabad, milestone recognition. I'm sure most of you know who it is. There we go. So we have several companies, including TCS, Infosys, Wipro, Cognizant, Deloitte, Capgemini, Accenture, Genpact. A lot of you are here. But on this occasion, we would like to recognize TCS, the largest employer in the state in the IT sector. They have crossed the 50,000 employee mark earlier this year, and within a span of another 6 months or 8 months, they have crossed the 60,000 mark. Now they're at 62,000. So on this occasion, we would like to invite V. Rajanna, he's already on the stage, Senior Vice President and Global Head Technology Business Unit, TCS, to receive a special recognition from the Honorable Minister. Rajanna garu, please. Mr. Rajanna is a member of our Advisory Council for IT Policy and Investments. He is also the past President of ICIA and past Chairman of the local chapter of CII. Thank you. Now I request Rajanna garu to speak, to say a few words. Rajanna garu.
Amar has given me only 1 minute, so let me try to finish in 1 minute. Good morning, and really good to see all of you. and congratulations to Honorable Minister, Mr. Jayesh, and entire team on this launch. While it's very, very essential to have a solid policy framework, I strongly believe and feel that Telangana government always differentiates itself in execution. As Amar mentioned, we crossed 62,000 employees yesterday. And I want to tell a brief story about this. I think in 2017, when we met the Honorable Chief Minister, and many of you know we have a major investment in Adipatla campus. And when we were explaining Honorable Chief Minister about our expansion plans, that we want to create the largest development center, and he was very, very happy to know that IT industry employs more than 35% women. And it is very, very good to see Rekha here today, and she is, I think, the first woman chairperson for NASCOM. Then obviously we discussed about safety issues, because at that time Adipatla was the area to be considered. Then he immediately called in front of us the then DGP Mr. Anurag Sharma and Mr. C.V. Anand. At that time Rachakonda was not separated. And he told both DGP and Commissioner that I'll be very, very happy if you can establish a police station next to TCS campus within a week. And of course, it did not happen within a week, but the police made the police station next to TCS campus operational within 2 to 3 weeks. And this kind of personal attention gives you a lot of confidence, a lot of comfort that government of Telangana is always with you. And obviously, on that day I found out that he was a great businessman as well. Then when we were departing after meeting him, and he said, Rajan, I am giving you a police station, but when are you crossing 50,000 people in Hyderabad? So today I am very, very happy to let him know through this platform that we crossed 62,000 employees. So we continue to expand, and Hyderabad will remain as an integral part of TCS growth strategy. Thank you. And on this special occasion, with Honorable Minister permission, TCS would like to contribute critical care ventilators worth of 2.2 crores to different government hospitals in Telangana. I just want to hand over this letter to Honorable Minister. Thank you.
It's a 2 crore check handed over by Mr. Rajanna to the Honorable Minister. Thank you, Rajanna. Now we move on to the next item, the TSAT ICFI. Thank you, Rajanna. Now we move on to the next item, the TSAT ICFI Knowledge Partner MOU. I'd like to invite Mr. Shailesh Reddy, CEO of TSAT, along with Professor J. Mahendra Reddy, Vice Chancellor of ICFI Foundation for Higher Education, and Professor S. Vijayalakshmi, Registrar, onto the stage. TSAT, and online in the areas of agriculture, medicine, competitive exams and other areas. Today we are having this MOU between ICFI and TSAT. MOU is intended to bridge the learning resources gap and transfer knowledge using the resources of ICFI to the students at universities across Telangana. Students of Telangana can access the classes by ICFI faculty at no cost through satellite, cable and new media. ICFI will produce 20-minute video lessons of select courses that are most sought after by students at universities across Telangana. Thank you. Now we move on to the next item. It's my pleasure to invite Padma Shri BVR Mohan Reddy Garu, a great friend of Hyderabad, a visionary and a founder chairman of SCIENT former chairman of NASSCOM, to say a few words on this occasion.
Honorable Minister KT Ramarao Garu, dignitaries on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. It's indeed an honor and a pleasure to address you this morning. I'll just not take more than 3 minutes that's been allotted to me. At the outset, let me congratulate the state of Telangana for the splendid job that they have done in promoting the IT-enabled services sector, but more dominantly now called as a technology sector. It's not just IT-enabled services, but it's technology which is being promoted so extensively. We've heard many good things about Telangana, be it the ability to attract the best of companies from all around the world, the ability to grow. In these difficult times, our ability to have continuity in terms of delivering value to our customers. But equally importantly, Mr. KT Ramarao's vision of going to Tier 2 towns, whether it's Warangal, Karimnagar, Adilabad, or bringing in more amount of inclusivity in terms of women empowerment. I think my colleague Rajan talked about how he improved the number of women being employed in his organization. So in all these counts, they've done a splendid job. So what can we do for them is join your hands and clap for Mr. KT Ramarao, congratulating him for the good work that he and his team does. Certainly, yes, the leadership, the political leadership is extremely important. Mr. KT Ramarao, under the leadership of Mr. K. Chandrasekhar Rao Garu, provides that vision, but it gets ably executed by our IT Secretary, Mr. Jayesh Ranjan. He's been the IT Secretary for 5 years and he did a splendid job. So congratulations, Jayesh Garu. Given this opportunity for me, I'm not the 50,000 people company, but I do my bit. I have about 10,000 of them, but I'm the homegrown product of Hyderabad. I feel very proud about it. We will continue to grow our from strength to strength in the city of Hyderabad, in the rural town of Warangal, and so on and so forth. I just have 2 points to make to the Honorable Minister today. It's an amazing policy, sir, that you have released today, and it does touch upon these issues, the 2 issues that I'll talk about, but I needed to emphasize them, is a skill requirement. Today, if you have a major crisis in this country, honestly, I believe it is all about not having right skilled people for executing work. The 21st century skills are going to be far different from the skills we have seen so far. Our ability to not only service the requirements at this point of time, but more importantly, service the future requirements, makes it imperative at this point of time that we make interventions in our education system to ensure that we will have future skills in every campus and future-ready student from every engineering college. It's not just the IITs, it's not the Tier 1s, the Tier 2s or Tier 3s. It has to be from every engineering college, we should have the skilled people. So my humble request, the first one to the Honorable Minister, is, sir, we need to look at our education system one more time to make sure that we do not have any shortfall in terms of skills at all from the city of Hyderabad. Otherwise, the reflection of it, which is not a good reflection, is attrition levels are certainly going through the roof at this point of time. Salaries are going up. So therefore, I think it's very important we certainly address this issue. The second one, which is also important, is that there is a fairly amount of intense effort going on to make India self-sufficient. I don't want to use somebody else's slogan, but it's a fairly popular slogan, so I can connect very well with you, the slogan called Atmanirbhar Bharat. It effectively says that we have to have the ability to design, engineer, innovate, manufacture, support products from India. That connect between the academia and industry is lacking. And that's because I think both of them live in glass houses. They don't have enough of interaction that's on. There are a couple of initiatives that I personally work on at this point of time. But my request to, again, the Honorable Minister is somehow bring these academia into the industry. whether these be programs in terms of trying to showcase what they have done so far. So there is a fairly good amount of work that's being done. The key thing is that they don't market them. They're not doing research for marketability. They're not, because my belief is research has become one-way traffic. We go pour money and money after it. But we need to get the second-way traffic, the reverse way. That's basically you need to monetize the effort that goes into it. So the second request is the policy should also bring in the ability to connect the academia and the industry to make sure we have great future for all of us. Again, thank you very much to all of you for listening to me, and congratulations to the Honorable IT Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You have provided some valuable suggestions to us, and you have done more than your job for the city of Hyderabad. On the request of the Honorable Minister, you have set up a very good and a fantastic campus for science in Warangal. You have bought World Congress for IT when you were the chairman of NASCOM, and you've been on the board of T-Hub giving advices to us. You've been a chairman of IIT Hyderabad, so pretty much you've done everything for the ecosystem in Hyderabad. Thank you, sir. So now we move on to the next item. We would like to recognize some of the government bodies. When you say Hyderabad IT is doing very well, I mean, there are a lot of people who support this ecosystem. Now we are recognizing the government bodies. First, I would like to invite Mr. Chinna Reddy, who is the superintending engineer for the Serlingampalli zone GHMC, to come and receive a memento from the Honorable Minister. While he is on the way to the stage, GHMC is involved in a lot of strategic road development plan works. They ease the traffic and maintain top-notch infrastructure. You see, all the flyovers that are built around your IT corridor, the underpasses, all the work is taken up by GHMC. And no wonder Hyderabad is the most livable city rated by Mercer for 5 years in a row. Thank you. Now, I would like to invite the Zonal Manager, Mr. Shravan Kumar from TSIAC, to receive a memento from the Honorable Minister. He was seen earlier. Okay. TSIAC does a great job in maintaining all the roads and the infrastructure in the high-tech city and the financial district and the Raidurg areas. Thank you. And now the STPI. STPI Hyderabad was one of the earliest centers established, and it was established in Hyderabad in 1991 in Maitrivanam. Some of the veterans like our B.V.R. Mohan Reddy Garu know the history of how it started. And when STPI was established as a scheme in India, one of the first centers that were established across India was in Hyderabad in Maitrivanam. In the last year, our state generated 1,45,000 crores of IT exports, and STPI's contribution was 70,000 crores. I would like to invite Mr. CVD Ram Prasad, who is the director of STPI, to come and receive a memento from the minister. Thank you, Ram Prasad Garu. Now I would like to invite Mr. Srinivasu Kaligotla, the Deputy Development Commissioner for the VSEZ. We have 130 operational EOUs in the state, and SEZs accounted for 75,000 crores of exports from Hyderabad. And looking at the numbers they have this year, so far, until the end of August, they may be even on pace to touch 1 lakh crores. Thank you, Srinivas Garu. Thank you for all the support. So we move on to the next item. Remarks by the US Consul General in Hyderabad, Mr. Joel Reifman. Respected Consul General in Hyderabad, Mr. Joel Reifman is a very important part of the community here. Mr. Reifman has also been a very active member and a special invitee on our Advisory Council for ICT Policy and Investments in Telangana. Request the Consul General to offer his remarks on this occasion. Please.
Thank you very much. Many of you may know that the U.S. Consulate General in Hyderabad is the newest one in India. So back in 2007, when the United States government announced we want to put a consulate in South India, Hyderabad was not the obvious choice. And so we looked at other cities, which shall not be named, which were seemingly more obvious, and we said we'd like a headquarters, and they were like, oh, kind of, maybe, sort of. But at that point, the united government of Andhra Pradesh said, oh no, we want you here now. We have a palace for you, here and now. And so this government, headed by KT Rama Rao's father, KCR, and then also you see it in KT Rama Rao, you see it in Jayesh Ranjan. They inherited that can-do attitude. And so I'm fortunate to be here because I have never seen a closer, a broader, and a deeper involvement between the United States and India than I have in Hyderabad. Absolutely, that deserves an applause. And a few things, why do I say that? Number one of my colleagues did a back-of-the-envelope contribution. And simply in the IT services, technology, fintech sector, he counted 48 U.S. firms, I'm sure there are more, with an investment from 2018 of $5.65 billion and employment of over 110,000 people. And that's just in IT and IT services. And so Hyderabad, and I keep saying it's the most dynamic city in India because IT is just one of the three nodes. There's aerospace and defense, there's also bio and pharma. And these three nodes don't operate in silos. It takes IT to run all of this. Now, so that's the depth, is that you have enormous figures, but in the breadth, in the people-to-people, it's really extraordinary. For instance, BVR Mohan Reddy is a fellow Michigan grad. So when I first met him, it was at the University of Michigan Alumni Club and in Hyderabad. What you have is the CEOs of Alphabet, of Microsoft, of Adobe. They all went to school down the road to the Hyderabad Public School. So all of these cross-cutting connections are so important. And so I'm very proud to be a part of that ecosystem, and I want to congratulate this government because it does two critical things. Number one, it creates a vision, and number two, it executes that vision. So congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Joel Reifman. Now I'd request the Honorable Minister to give a memento to Mr. Joel Reifman. Sorry. So request the other guests to join. The U.S. Consul General plays a very important role in addressing the expat issues. And as you know, more than 50% of our exports go into the U.S. It's very important for us to maintain that relationship. Thank you. I'd also request the Honorable Minister to give away a memento to Mr. BVR Mohan Reddy Garu. Thank you. Now we move on to the next item. Would like to invite Mr. Pranav Hebbar, co-founder Make Room India, and Mrs. Shanta Tautam, CIO for Telangana State Innovation Cell, and Annie Vijaya, Head of Sustainability and Scalability in TSIC, for the launch of the I2E Lab 2.0 with Make Room India. I2E Lab, along with TSIC, has completed the first cohort with 8 startups, and they collectively raised rupees 45 lakhs and market access to 30 lakhs. Please cheer for the launch of the I2E Lab 2.0 with Make Room India. Thank you. I would like to call Mr. Shravan Kumar, Zonal Manager for TSIC. He just stepped out earlier to check upon the infrastructure around the Novotel and HICC. He's back now to receive a memento from the Honorable Minister. TSIC plays a key role in building the infrastructure for promoting IT in the IT corridors. And Shravan Garu is the Zonal Manager for this area. Thank you. We move on to the next program, Microsoft's Cloud Partnership with Telangana. I would like to invite Mr. Navatej Bal, Executive Director, Public Sector, Microsoft India, Mr. Ashutosh Chadha, Director and Country Head, Public Policy, and Mr. Maurya Teja from Octus. With this MOU, Microsoft will develop cloud capabilities for the government of Telangana. They will provide consultancy for AI, ML and blockchain, and cloud credits for Azure Infra, and cyber security training, and also cyber crime training. Thank you. Thank you. Now we have the remarks from our chief guest. Before Mrs. Rekha Menon comes onto the dais podium, I would like to just briefly go over her bio. Rekha Menon is a leading industry voice on advanced technology-led innovation and socio-economic progress. Rekha is also a member of the National Council of CII and USIBC's India Advisory Council. She is also on the board of governance of her alma mater, the XLRI School of Business, and 2 not-for-profits, Pradham Books and Akshara Foundation. Rekha regularly features on lists of the most powerful women in business in India and is recognized among the top 10 LGBT ally executives globally. Prior to joining Accenture, Rekha was an entrepreneur. She co-founded 2 technology companies and a not-for-profit company. An active hiker and cycling enthusiast, Rekha is also a voracious reader. Ladies and gentlemen, with a big round of applause, please invite Mrs. Rekha Menon to say a few words to us.
No, that's fine, that's fine. Namaskar. I'm very glad to be here. And Mr. KT Rama Rao, Mr. Jayesh Ranjan, dynamic leaders who are leading this very innovative change and this state. So it's an honor for me to be here in my role as chair for NASSCOM and as chair for Accenture, both of which have very large presence in Telangana. Okay. height differences. We know, all of us know about Telangana's growth story, and a lot of it has been scripted by the investments and the innovations in technology. And over the last few years, we've seen constant innovation, constant new policies, and what it has done actually is generated currently about 6.5 lakh jobs in the IT/ITES sector. Speaking for that, if I just look back, the startup industry just in the last few years has gone from 0 to about 1,500, and the collaboration that the state enabled with WeHub or T-Works or Rich, there was also connected them to about 1,800 crores of investment, plus with very strong institutional partnerships with WEF and UNDP and World Bank. And we in the technology industry have also had a very long-standing, rich relationship with Telangana. Your very progressive policies have always set benchmarks, whether you were the first to launch the cybersecurity policy, the state innovation policy, or the innovative Telangana government mentor program. It's your path-breaking initiatives that then translated into the growth that we talked about. So thank you for that. From an industry perspective, we've also seen the investment, and NASSCOM has collaborated very closely. There have been very deep engagements, and we've seen that happen, whether it's the Telangana AI mission, where we are partnering for AI adoption and innovation, or the Data Security Council of India, which is running a COE here, or the Future Skills Partnership with TASK, which is actually focusing on future skill building, a very critical need, right? And then speaking for Accenture itself, our relationship with Telangana is long and deep. We have a large presence in the state, and our CSR program is already running in 5 districts here. And we recently supported the setup of 120-bed CCU in Nizamabad for the COVID relief measures. So both ways, the relationship has been deep. And the other area I really want to thank the government, or the state government, is for during the last 18 months, where as an industry, and as all of us went through very deep crises, I need to express our gratitude for the support we got, whether it was the timely interventions on SEZ relaxation, whether it was providing clearance to operate during statewide lockdowns, allowing night shift movement. All of that helped us keep our essential services running, helped us continuing to deliver to our clients, and also to keep our people safe. So a big thank you for that. If we look ahead, IT industry in India actually is back on its growth trajectory. And we continue to lead India's economic recovery. We collectively generated about 195 billion worth of revenue last year, of which 150 billion was export revenue for the Indian economy, and which actually translates roughly to about 8% of India's GDP and about 52% of share of services export. And in the same period, if I look at the Telangana numbers, and they were already spoken about, the state witnessed a 13% growth in the technology industry, which translated to about 145,000 crores and an 8% growth in employment, which is saying a lot at a time where there was a crisis in the economy happening. And I have to give some credit to that for your forward-looking policies, because they have underscored the growth. The IT reforms, the new sectoral policies, which we are working on for open data, blockchain, data analytics, AI, they are going to be at the core. And we've seen that the pandemic has actually proved that technology is a lifeline for societies and economies globally. And it plays a very vital role in driving not just economic growth, but sustainable, equal growth, and giving access, providing social services to the most remote areas and to the most underserved communities. And in India, we're well capitalized to take that opportunity and become the world leaders, but we have to invest in a few areas. For example, rapid digitalization is creating, and Mohan Garu spoke to that, is creating an unprecedented demand for completely new skills. And those skills are changing all the time, whether it's AI or robotics or IoT. And currently, if we look across India, the demand for digital skills is 8 times what's available. So if we don't take this on a crisis mode and relook at skilling in an absolutely different way, we are going to lose huge opportunities, right? We've also envisioned the future of work because the pandemic allowed us to rethink the way we all work. Now we need to make that happen as we start coming back to work and create the new hybrid model. And for that, enabling policies will have to be put in place, right? And then there are big growth opportunities in the emerging sectors, SaaS, software products, engineering, R&D, e-commerce, semiconductor manufacturing, and in advanced technologies like quantum computing and AI. But realizing all those opportunities will require very focused investments in developing deep tech startup systems, something that the state of Telangana has done. But we need it across India, and we need all kinds of combined efforts from business, from technology, from solution enablers, but also from the government to incorporate structural changes, whether it's labor reform or it's policy reform for data and privacy, IT procurement, and that has to happen sooner rather than later. And we're very willing to work with the government to make that happen in a collaborative way. But I'm actually very delighted to see in the ICT policy that a lot of this is getting reflected already, the future looking, whether it's digitally empowered citizens, digital government, innovation and startups, employment generation investments, and ICT for development. So it's off to a good start, but a lot more work to be done. And therefore, on behalf of NASSCOM and on behalf of Accenture, I really want to thank the government of Telangana for your continued support and partnership. And we will work with you to ensure not just our industry growth, but the socio-economic growth of Telangana. Thank you.
Can I request the Honorable Minister, Mr. KT Ramarao Garu, to felicitate the chief guest on this occasion? Pochampalli double ikat saree. So Madam has made the selection. And a filigree. Both of them are made in Telangana. There is also a press meet organized with our chief guest, Mrs. Rekha Menon, in Organizer Office 2 after the event, right after the event. There is a press meet organized with Mrs. Rekha Menon in Organizer Office Suite 2 right after the event. Thank you. There are a lot of other people that have contributed to the success and the growth of the IT in the state. We may not be able to bring everybody on the stage and thank them, but I would just like to just make a mention of some of the people who have really contributed. Some of the IPCs are here, the International Property Consultants, CBRE, JLL, Cushman, Colliers, Knight Frank. I see some of them here. And also the real estate developers. They have done their role. They have built fantastic grade A spaces. A lot of them are here as well. We thank all of you for being a part of the growth story. Now, we move on to the next item. And we would like to recognize the Advisory Council for ICT Policy and Investments in Telangana. A lot of them are globally, or most of them or all of them are globally reputed leaders in their own fields. Some of them are here in Hyderabad and some of them are globally present. So we would like to invite all of those who are present here. Mr. Arijit Sakkar, Vice President of Google. Mr. Arijit Sarkar, Vice President of Google, Mr. Rajiv Chilaka, founder of Green Gold Animation, Mr. Shashi Reddy, Vice President of Engineering for Qualcomm, Mr. Narasimha Rao, Executive Vice President for Infosys, and Mr. Ramesh Kaja, Senior Vice President for State Street, onto the stage. As you may know, they all represent different sectors and are leaders in their own right. And we had multiple meetings with them for evolving the ICT policy and many other decisions for the government. Thank you. Now, we would like to hear from the man who leads from the front, our Minister for IT and Industries, Mr. KT Ramarao.
Thanks. Thank you, Amar. I know we are running late, so I thought we'll save you all from the introduction, and I knew that Amar was actually going to go for a long-winded introduction, so thank you. Firstly, I'd like to thank all of you for taking some time out of your busy days, busy schedules, and coming and joining us for this program, the launch of the second ICT policy ever since the formation of Telangana as a state. As you're all aware, Telangana is one of the youngest, in fact, the youngest state and one of the fastest growing states in the country. I'd like to particularly extend special thanks and gratitude to Srimati Rekha Menon for joining us, for taking the time out, Rekha. Really appreciate your time and your efforts in joining us today. I know this is your first time out after 18 months, so thank you for coming to Hyderabad and joining us. Just to put things in perspective, before I talk about the policy or the highlights or the sector or the industry and the technologies, I think I'd like to spend a couple of minutes on how well Telangana has done in the last 7 years. If you just look at the gross state domestic product, GSDP as we call it, in 2021 it was 9.78 lakh crores. And compare this to 2013 and 14, it was around 5 lakh crores. So literally the GSDP of the state has nearly doubled, and in fact it is much, much higher than the national average growth rate. The share of Telangana's economy in national GDP, I keep saying, we punch above our weight. If you look at Telangana as a state, we are 11th largest in terms of population. We are 12th largest in terms of geographical size. But in terms of our contribution to the GDP, Telangana today is the 4th largest contributor to the national economy. And this is not me saying it. This is a report released by the Reserve Bank of India yesterday that has reinforced our belief and our point. More importantly, let me also point out that in terms of population and the overall country, we are about 2.5% if you look at the country as a whole. Our Telangana's population is about 4 crores. India's population is nearly 135 crores. But if you look at the GDP contribution, a 2.5% population is contributing to 5%, which is literally double of what our size is. More importantly, I think another very telling statistic, which kind of tells you the growth story of Telangana. When we started our journey in 2013 and 14 as a state, the per capita income of a citizen in Telangana was 94,000, I think it was, subject to correction. But now the state's per capita income of citizen is 2,27,145, which is significantly higher compared to the national average. The national average is about 1,27,000 768. So we are nearly 100,000 rupees above the national average. Over the last 1 year, Telangana once again has boasted of a phenomenal growth in the IT and IT-enabled services sector, thanks largely to the group gathered here in the room, with an increase of 12.98% in exports over the previous year, in spite of the pandemic, in spite of all the problems that we had to go through. Just to put things in perspective in terms of export numbers, when we started our journey in 2013-14, the IT export numbers were at about 57,000 crores of rupees. But now, as of last year, they are about 1,45,000 crores of rupees. We have seen more than double, and we have of course been much growing at a much faster rate than the national average. Back in 2016, as was pointed out by Jayesh Ranjan, my principal secretary, we have decided to announce a very progressive, forward-looking, forward-thinking ICT policy in the overall, with the overall guidance by our Honorable Chief Minister, Shri KTR Garu. In the last 5 years, between 2016 and 2021, I'm glad to say that the IT E&C department has been successful at meeting the goals that we have set for ourselves in policy 2016. But as you all know, every government is elected for 5 years, and so are the policies. We typically have a 5-year policy. So we had to come out with some revisions, with some newer ideas with this new policy that we have launched today. We have not only been able to achieve the goals that we have set for ourselves, we've also had a strong positive impact on the policy making at national level, and thanks largely again to our investors, to the citizens, to the stakeholders who have been involved in this brilliant growth story. Over the last 5 years, as I pointed out, the state has passed several milestones in the IT and electronic sectors, not only in terms of the growth, but also in adaptation to the public, to the citizens. Telangana has seen the highest annual growth rate in IT sector in the country in terms of export numbers in the last 5 years, and has created more than 2.5 lakh jobs in this sector, and in spite of the pandemic again. As Amar pointed out, in the last 5 to 6 years, we've had several marquee investors. We hear these, I keep saying this to a lot of potential investors when I meet them. If you look at the top 5 most valued technology companies in the world, all 5 of them without an exception have their second largest base outside of their headquarters in our own city of Hyderabad today. And this marquee list includes Apple, Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. Now, yes, of course, and we have all of these brands right up there. Let me also quickly point out, excepting Microsoft, which has set its office here in Hyderabad, which has set up its office in Hyderabad and back in 2001-2, all other 4 have come to Telangana in the last 5 to 6 years. Not only these top 5 most valued tech companies, we also have a marquee list of names, Micron, Uber, and we have very interesting companies in BFSI. Just as of a couple of days back, when JP Morgan Chase has set up its largest APAC office in Hyderabad, Goldman Sachs has opened a very large facility in Hyderabad, and that list goes on. In fact, Mass Mutual, State Street, PepsiCo, Intel, the list goes on. More importantly, what I'm very upbeat about is also the electronic sector, manufacturing. Honorable Prime Minister talks about making in India. Honorable Chief Minister of Telangana is very keen to get that manufacturing piece to our state. Electronic sector in Telangana saw more than 1.5 lakh jobs being created, and now we are responsible for production of nearly 7% of electronics output in the country, and that is constantly growing. We've also recently announced the electric vehicle policy, and we've been seeing significant traction even in this space. We have developed a robust innovation ecosystem consisting of T-Hub, the Telangana State Innovation Cell, the Women Entrepreneurs Hub called as V-Hub, and one important thing that BVR Mohan Reddy Garu spoke about, the strong collaboration that is required between industry and academia. We have made a sincere effort in the form of RICH, the Research and Innovation Circle of Hyderabad. But I take your point, sir. I think a lot more needs to be done. I certainly agree with you there. And of course, the Telangana Academy for Skill and Knowledge, TASK, and the largest prototyping facility in the country, soon to be unveiled, called as the T-Works. The Emerging Technologies Wing, headed by Ramadevi Garu, and Image Center of Excellence, which stands for Innovation in Animation, Gaming, Multimedia and Entertainment. All of these together, in fact, more than 1,500 startups have received support in the form of mentorship, incubations and industry connects, and have raised more than 1,800 crores of rupees in funding over the last 5 years. I know this number looks small, but I think this is just the beginning. From where we have started to where we have reached, I think it's a significant journey. More than 3 lakh skilled professionals have been created through programs from TASK that have been designed in partnership with the industry. And I take the point made by Sri BVR Mohan Reddy Garu, and of course strongly reinforced and endorsed by Rekha Menon, about the need to focus on education and, more importantly, skilling. We have taken note of that, Madam, myself and Jayesh Ranjan, and we will work with both NASSCOM and also our local industry partners here to ensure that we create a furthermore, even more robust skilling program. TASK, in fact, also has one of the highest placement rates in the country for a government-backed skilled program. More than 500 government services are available electronically over Me Seva, and over 250 are available over phones through the T-App Folio. Me Seva has been exemplary in bringing the government closer and more accessible for the citizens, and has inspired other cities and also other countries, in fact. Telangana has made rapid strides in the e-governance space. In fact, we've also won several awards for our smart government initiatives like RTDAI and the digital verification of beneficiaries which have been launched. Just to give you a sense of what e-governance can do for a citizen in Telangana, on a Sunday in Telangana today, you can get your driver's license renewed sitting in the comforts of your home using a smartphone. That's how, adaptive we've been with respect to our e-governance initiatives. Several new and growing technologies have been taken up by the Emerging Technologies Wing in the state of Telangana. Over the last 5 years, sectoral policies have been developed and launched for open data, blockchain, data analytics, artificial intelligence, cyber security, cloud adoption, and e-waste management. All of these have been taken up. In fact, in partnership with leading global organizations such as the World Economic Forum, the United Nations Development Programme, the World Bank, we have leveraged these partnerships and engagements to make Telangana a leader in emerging technology space. Through the Digital Telangana initiative, we have been able to make the digital world more accessible to the citizens of Telangana. More than 3,000 public Wi-Fi access points have been established in the city of Hyderabad, and this is now also being expanded to other cities. More than 5 lakh citizens have been trained to be digitally literate in the state, especially from rural backgrounds. Hyderabad has also been rated as a city with the best quality of living by Mercer on the Livability Index for 5 years in a row now, from 2015 until 2020, and we hope to continue this momentum. We have also been rated by JLL as the most dynamic city in the world, and that also reflects in the growth of our real estate industry and house construction industry in the city of Hyderabad. Let me also point out that our Honorable Chief Minister constantly reminds us, constantly guides us, and constantly reinforces his point that any technology which does not have a societal impact, a positive societal impact, any technology which does not take away the pain points of a common man, of a citizen, is futile. So therefore, we have looked at the pain points within the various government departments, and we have tried to engage and we have tried to imbibe a lot of that into the new policy that has been launched today. We believe that the citizens need to get better employment opportunities, better access to technology, and overall a better quality of life which can be enabled leveraging IT. And today, if you ask me, IT is not just information technology anymore. IT is intelligent technologies. In fact, IT can make the citizen's life much, much better. We've also looked at the digital divide among the citizens from different backgrounds, because unless we address it, that divide will continue to grow. We've in fact made a very conscious effort to provide equal opportunities and support from the government by creating a level playing field. The technology world, as we all know, is dynamic and ever evolving. A 5-year period is ideal for us to rejuvenate our goals and reinforce and rethink our approach sometimes. The COVID-19 pandemic has been devastating for many of us, but also has provided us with an opportunity to accelerate the adoption of technology across sectors. We have seen how schools have adopted to online classes. We've seen how hospitals and primary healthcare centers have had to adopt to telemedicine and e-medicine. It is also equally important to benchmark ourselves against the world's leading countries in ICT adoption and benefit from their learnings, to leapfrog ahead of competing technologies and competing economies in terms of innovation, in terms of investment attraction potential as well. Our primary objective that we have set out to achieve with the second ICT policy is to empower and enable the citizens of the state belonging to all backgrounds to take advantage of the growing digital world. From being able to use basic smartphone applications to be able to work on advanced technologies, we will enable citizens to live a better digital life. As my colleague, my Principal Secretary, Jayesh Ranjan has already briefed you on the initiatives that Telangana will take up in the next few years to come, I would like to reinforce and let you know that the government will put in maximum efforts to give citizens what they deserve to realize the vision of our Honorable Chief Minister. The government will make citizens familiar with digital opportunities and ensure that citizens are in a position to take advantage of technology in their day-to-day lives. The government will continue to improve the service delivery mechanisms and public interaction through technology and enhanced digital skills. Telangana will be transformed to be the first choice destination for startups and investors, and the government will promote impact-driven solutions. The state will facilitate investments and create jobs in the information technology, product, engineering and research and development fields to emerge as a leader in this country. Several initiatives and the implementation mechanisms for them have been identified and incorporated into the policy to achieve the goals that have been set. A truly contactless, paperless and presenceless government will be created with 100% of government services being made available over the web and on mobile applications, except in cases that mandate physical presence like driving license tests. The government will ensure that at least one individual in each household and self-help groups is digitally made literate and is given access to the advantage of the digital ecosystem. Over 12,000 digital Telangana centers will be set up at the panchayat level to provide digital services to citizens even in the remotest of locations. Basic artificial intelligence training will be provided for all technology graduates to be prepared for the next wave of employment creation with the advent of newer technologies. The state will set up, together with the private sector, a startup fund worth rupees 1,300 crores and a government investment committee with a goal to support over 8,000 startups and making Telangana the top choice for startups in the country. Telangana will also develop IT and ITES sector to reach over 3 lakh crores in IT exports over the next 5 years and will reach over 10 lakh employees in the IT sector. Over 50,000 jobs shall be generated in the IT and ITES sector in the Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities in the state, establishing them as IT hubs of the future. Some effort has already been made, and thanks to BVR Mohan Reddy Garu and also CP Gurnani of Tech Mahindra for launching their centers in Warangal. We look forward to more and more of these enterprises. I know TCS is the largest employer in the state of Telangana. I look forward to TCS, Wipro, Infi, and of course Accenture, and all the other IT majors who are assembled in the room here today to also start looking at Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities for further expansion, further opportunities. There will also be a special focus on electric vehicles, battery storage systems, consumer electronics, medical devices, and automotive sectors. And we believe that a really truly self-reliant India can only be accomplished with not only good policy support, but also with active engagement directly with the states within the country. We believe that we can attract more than 75,000 crores of investment and create more than 3 lakh jobs in the electronics sector in the next 5 years. The Telangana Emerging Technologies Corridor shall be launched as a hub of centers of excellence or technology centers and will be a platform for providing institutional support, thought leadership, promoting research and development, and innovation in the latest trends in technology. Telangana will be established as a leader in technology-based governance through the creation of the data stack, a data analysis wing, and promotion of ethical usage of emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence, machine learning, and blockchain in government services also. The government will use its patented and homegrown technology solutions to support businesses, MSMEs, and other states in the country. A dedicated Smart Cities wing will also be created in collaboration with the Municipal Administration and Urban Development Department with the aim to create over 40 smart regions in the state, benchmarking with the best smart cities in the world. Once again, thank the chief guest of the occasion today, Srimati Rekha Menon. I also would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the Consul General of United States of America, in Hyderabad, Joel Reifman, Sri BVR Mohan Reddy Garu, Rajanna Garu, to Venkateshwara Garu, and of course our newly appointed Commissioner of Police in the Cyberabad region, Mr. Srifen Ravindra Garu. And of course I would be remiss not to mention the contribution of my Principal Secretary, my partner in crime, Jayesh Ranjan Garu, for his unstinted and lovely support over the last 6 years. Thank you once again and have a great day. Thank you.
Sir, thank you, sir. When you took up as a minister in 2014, we still remember the event we had at Taj Krishna in a packed audience. Specifically, I would like to remind you a couple of things that you stated. One, you said, we will become the most preferred destination for the investments in the world, and we will leave no stone unturned. And the second thing that you told, sir, we will build India's largest tech incubator for startups. Sir, at that point, both of them seemed like moonshots. But today, we see that it is a reality. So I would like all the ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause for what all happened in the 7 years in the state. Now I would like to call upon the Commissioner of Me Seva, Mr. G.T. Venkateshwara Garu, to propose the vote of thanks.
A very good afternoon to all present here. On behalf of the Information Technology, Electronics and Communication Department, I sincerely thank Srimati Rekha Menon ji, Chairperson Accenture India and Chairperson NASSCOM, for having come here, graced the occasion and launched the second ICT policy. Sincere thanks, Madam. Let me of course thank our Sri KT Ramarao Garu, Honorable Minister for IT Industries and MAUD, for being here, as well as guiding all of us, in the entire policy making of both first as well as the second policy, and then guiding the department for all its achievements in the last 7 years. Thank you, sir. Thanks to Sri BVR Mohan Reddy Garu, Chairman Science, who is always amongst us, in any function. Whenever we invite, he always tries to attempt, and I think he has been with us in many programs. Thank you, sir, for coming here. Thanks to Sri P. Rajanna Garu, Senior Vice President, Global Head Technology TCS, for being here with us today. Thanks to Sri Joel Reifman Garu, Consul General, US Embassy, for gracing today's program. Thanks to Sri Srifen Ravindra Garu, Commissioner Cyberabad, for joining today's event. Of course, thanks to our Principal Secretary IT Industry, Sri Jayesh Ranjan Garu, for being the pillar of the policy, both first as well as the second, and spearheading the IT department's growth, its achievements in the last 6+ years. So whatever, all the credit goes to Honorable Minister as well as our Principal Secretary. Thanks to all the colleagues in the IT department who have contributed to the policy as well as for the today's program. I think special reference to Rama Devi, Director Emerging Technologies, and Amarnath, our colleague who looks at all our PR initiatives, which made, as you know, some of them a direct result of his efforts, perhaps. And thanks to each one of you, all the industry leaders who have been our partners, in the state's journey and growth of IT in the last 7 years. Thanks to each one of you for taking time, coming here and being with us today. Thanks to everyone else who are here, who have supported this program directly and indirectly, including press and media. Once again, on behalf of the Information Technology Department, I sincerely and warmly thank each one of you, and please join us for lunch. Thank you.